There's welcome to Listening with Leaders. You are the CEO of a company in the Bay Area, I think it's in the Bay Area called ControlUp, and we're anxious to learn all about you today.
Great to be here, Doug. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and I am in San Francisco by myself, but the company is actually headquartered in Israel with pockets of people around the world, actually. So,
Yeah, when I looked at the website, it looked like you had a very strong Israeli background. So let's start off with your backstory. You've worked your way up in leadership over the years. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, I feel very blessed to have chosen a career in tech. Started in the early 90s in the Bay Area and lived through the dot-com era,
The
which was
bust.
a special time in San Francisco. And I was very fortunate to always be focused on the end user compute side of things. Initially, that was selling PCs and laptops to people, and then DSL, and I had a little touch of that in the early part of my career. And then I was introduced to a technology called virtual desktop infrastructure, VDI. It's also called desktop as a service in the sort of early 2000s, a company called Citrix, delivering to highly regulated industries, government, healthcare, retail, finance, insurance, primarily a very secure Windows and Windows applications. And so it's a bit of a niche, but it's a very important technology. And that's served me very well for the last sort of 15 years of my career. I've been very focused on that space.
And tell us a little bit about ControlUp.
Yeah, so ControlUp actually was born out of that space. As you can imagine, delivering a like high fidelity Windows desktop to anybody on any device anywhere in the world is actually a challenge. You've probably heard
Yes.
people that use Citrix say, "Oh, I hate it." And usually it's not actually Citrix's fault. It's something in the dimensions of delivering Citrix that become challenging. And so ControlUp actually was born out of creating the sort of observability and analytics and remediation of that product. Built a very successful company in out of Israel. And then in the COVID time, they expanded to cover laptops and all kinds of devices and other applications. A whole category has emerged actually called digital employee experience. And
Hmm.
it's the idea of contextualizing all the dimensions that go into delivering a great experience digitally across any device, any application, anywhere someone might sit. And it is a disruptive technology in a way because it takes a lot of these older legacy tools that may have been focused on just looking at the network or servers or just the endpoints, and it does it in real time and it contextualizes it around a human experience.
So
And so
give me an example of how that might work.
yeah, so you would go into let's just say we go into an insurance company who has people all over the world, and they're working on laptops and they're working through Citrix, and they're essentially it's the primary use case is actually born out of the help desk, right? The help desk troubleshooting tickets and trying to figure out where the problems are as tickets arrive. And so they have to be able to pull up Doug's Zoom call that he's having right now and figure out why is this call wobbly. And so we have the ability to look right into the call and also into your PC, see the CPU usage, see the
Hmm.
network, see your home network, and really quickly troubleshoot where the issue is. That sounds pretty good, but really where the magic is, Doug, is like actually once we see that problem and it manifests itself potentially across a lot of Dougs in the company, we can create automation, right? So that those issues don't surface anymore. And as you can
Wow.
imagine, there's an AI component because we're actually really a data company, right? We're collecting several thousand metrics every 3 seconds, holding that data for 30 days to 12 months. And so we can start to see patterns and we can write scripts. And you can imagine AI against this data set can create really interesting insights and eventually just creates almost an autonomous endpoint management, if you will. And the real interesting thing is it reduces tools, right? You take a whole bunch of tools today that are used to manage a lot of things, you reduce them, you create a lot of reduction of human friction, both the end user who's struggling to do their job, as well as the IT team that's trying to build and manage this infrastructure. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting category. It was definitely born out of, hey, everybody went home and you have several hundred million
Right.
and there isn't a guy down the hallway that can come and quickly assess what's wrong with
That's
your
exactly right. I'm the sole practitioner but when I have a problem, it's a pain in the butt to figure it out.
So it's
Uh,
an exciting category. Gartner's recognized it as like the centerpiece of how people are going to modern workspace, digital workspace
right.
management, come out with a quadrant. And so that's really helped elevate the category.
And how do you get involved with ControlUp? You're not one of the founders. You were
No,
brought
so
in.
yeah, this is my fourth company working alongside a founder.
Oh,
So
wow.
I know you study empathy and the,
Right.
the dynamics of kind of human interactions quite a bit. And so yeah, this is my fourth time coming in and intersecting a founder and working alongside a founder to hopefully be another great outcome. And they found
What?
me because of it's the space I was telling you about in end user compute. It's a small industry, and I was working for a company called iGel for 7 years. That was a very unexpected success story. It was a German thin client company, probably the most boring technology you could imagine in this space. It's like a dumb terminal, essentially a modern day dumb terminal that was out of Germany, and we flipped the company into a software company, brought it to the US, did about everything the hardest thing you could do in tech, right? Working with Germans, bringing a product into the US, hardware to software, perpetual to subscription. And so I did that for 7 years, and I became more visible, I think, in this space. And yeah, I got a call one day from ControlUp.
So what have you learned through all of this
A
as a
lot,
leader?
a lot of things. One thing is it's never as easy as it might sound or look, right? It's a matter of getting up every day and doing the next right thing and building a plan, building a team that's got the right focus and step for step, always making the right decisions every time in that playbook, but having a vision of what you want to accomplish and building a team around you that's got the right skills from building a product to operations to HR to sales. It's definitely about surrounding yourself with a quality set of complementary and domain expertise.
Yeah,
And
every single leader I've ever interviewed on this show, I think you're in the 300s now, has said the same thing. The most important thing to building a business and scaling it is it's the people around you. It's not you as the CEO. It's
what if
making sure that you've got the right people around you, and they know how to hire the right people around them.
exactly. Exactly. And yeah, I always tell people like it's the three P's, right? It's yeah, you gotta, it starts with the right people. You gotta have the right product. You gotta have the right plan. But then there's a fourth special P, which is the culture. And it's like the passion, right? The sort of underpinnings of the vision that you have to bring the culture and the right values to underpin those other three P's.
So you're living in the Bay Area, and the company founders are in Israel. Obviously, it's either hybrid or remote. Tell me about what it's like working with a company like that.
Yeah, the first year I spent just sort of, actually, I should say 6 weeks after I took the job in August of 23, a war broke out. And
Right, in
it's
October.
really interesting in terms of after October 7th, going back into the mothership. And so that created a new intricacy to solve for because I guess one thing I do believe is face-to-face interaction is always more meaningful and it's how you build trust and ultimately succeed with people. And yeah, luckily I had spent a lot of time leading up to October 7th with the founder and had built some of that rapport. And then he was able to get out of Israel quite a bit. And we met in New York and we met in
Mm.
London and had regular meetups. But yeah, it's been interesting. He's in his early 40s and still very passionate about the company. And so we've actually navigated a very clever role for him to stay involved because I always believe that's a better path typically if you could keep that sort of founder fire in the building and but not have it be a distraction
Right.
or what have you. So we created a sub entity called ControlUp Labs, and he's running that as the CEO of this sub entity, and he's focused on what he's God-given talent is, which is innovation, right? So he
Mhm.
wakes up every day without, for the first time ever, actually, all the operational pressures of the company, and he gets to focus on building innovation
He gets to
into
play.
yeah. He's very happy, and I think it's best for the company in a way. We're in a space that it's a little bit of an arms race in terms of the functionality that needs to come into the platform,
Mhm.
build this category leader. And so it's been very good. There's two founders. He's doing that, and the other one is actually our global office of the CTO evangelist. And so they both are in really good places, but it took some time to navigate how that was going to work.
I bet you're saying this is the fourth time you walked into a situation like this. Relationships can be fraught. If,
Yes.
and
And
you're
the culture is also a little different, right? Like
right.
our previous company was German. The love language of Israeli culture is like getting a nice high volume, high emotion argument and then
Right.
hug each other after that. The first time you see it, it's pretty astonishing where you're just like, wow, these people really are gonna go at it. And then you realize that's just actually how they communicate. They're very passionate. And yeah, that's been an interesting dynamic to intersect with.
So the rest of your employees they're spread out all over the world, or do you have a headquarters somewhere?
Yeah, we have the headquarters is in Israel still, but
Okay.
I'm in San Francisco. We have an office in New York. We have a pretty big contingent in London. We have lots of developers in Canada, UK. But yeah, it's a pretty dispersed company. There's a little over 400 people, and there 180 of them are in Israel, but then the rest are all around the world. About 70% of the company is coming out of the US, which I think is really important, right? If you're going to build a category leader, you got to prove that yourself out with the U.S. enterprises, and so
Right.
we're job there. We have almost 2,000 customers
Wow.
at this point. So yeah,
So
it's
how do you keep track and manage this diverse workforce? It's really international in nature.
a lot of Zoom calls, rides. I think last year I had about 100 segments on United. So
Wow.
a lot of, I think as a CEO, the best place to be is either with your employees, your partners, or your customers. So a lot of FaceTime interacting with them. Obviously, I also have religion around how I structure the week with our ELT huddles and just some of the muscle that we have in terms of the one-on-ones to keep a pulse on
Yeah.
the the team across a spectrum. Lots of town halls, lots of extended leadership team meetings. Then every 90 days, we're also together face to face as a leadership team.
Wow.
So
So it's a lot of effort.
it is.
What is it that gets you up in the morning and gets you excited to do all this?
I have a beautiful family and 4 kids, two of which are in college right now. So that's
That helps.
fair. But no, to be honest, it's this company in this category. I've never been in a company where you actually had an opportunity to put a fingerprint on an entirely new category. I explained it to you earlier what it
Right.
was, right? And to be the leader in this category. We're in a unique situation. It's a VC-backed company, the
Mm.
largest VC out of Israel. We have a lot of cash, almost $100 million in cash, and nobody has a majority share of the company. And so we're in the world of tech, and we're in this sort of rare space of crossing 100 million in ARR, being in a position where we can affect a category and kind of revolutionize how Windows devices are managed, secured, and patched around a human being as a construct. So it's revolutionary in a way. And yeah, these variables is a little bit of lightning in a bottle, right? I think less than 1% of software companies ever get to $100 million anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. I get excited that hey, I'm running a company that could go IPO. That's
Really.
kind of the North Star for us, is
Right.
we're really successful business into the sort of with the tailwinds of a category that we think could change the industry.
So how's AI play into the formula?
It's a big part of it actually, right? When you're collecting this much data and there's this opportunity to create autonomous actions with the data that take friction out, it's the winner of this category, Doug, will be the one that can see the anomalies in the data and is high enough trust that it can
Mm.
basically instinctually take the right remediation without destroying anything. And so we're still a few innings away from that, but we see companies that are running millions of scripts that they wrote themselves, and they're getting the benefit of this sort of reduction in friction and reduction in tools, reduction in humans that are doing this heavy troubleshooting and remediation. Yeah, one of our largest customers, I just had a QBR with them last week. They've run 35 million automated actions this year, a large financial institution. And so you can imagine as the models get bigger and better, this becomes a really interesting AI play.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Jed, what do you think it is unique about you that you bring to the table that's made you so successful in all of this?
I started my career and I'm not actually the guy who's hands on keyboard coding a lot of things, right? I'm more of like a sales and marketing go-to-market leader. And I think a lot of actually my heart and first love and success in leadership was in marketing.
Hmm.
So a lot of the success that I have, I think, has been conceptualizing a technology and helping people understand, hey, that this can change how you think about something, right? And so it's like this idea of being able to visualize it and get people to buy into that vision. So I think that's been an important part of it. And storytelling factors into that, right? The ability to
Right.
tell a story, bring that alive, help people conceptualize it. And I think ultimately you need great leaders, they need people to buy into that vision, right? Both the employees, the partners, the customers. I will say one other thing that's been important for me is in tech, a lot of tech is people think, oh, the greatest, biggest tech companies, they sell direct. I spent the first half of my career in what was called the channel, right? Companies that were solution providers that were putting tech together. And so there's a lot of intellect that I gained over the first half of my career on how to build partnerships with the channel.
Hmm.
And you think about, I have 30 sellers today, but I have 300 partners that have hundreds of sellers, right? And so how do you build partnerships with those channel partners that give you an elevation and a speed to market with your product that other, companies just can't compete with? So that has been part of my success as a leader, is building scale through channel partners.
Wow. And
Um,
that takes a lot of trust.
yes.
You can't screw up.
So I tell people it's a four-part strategy. It starts with integrity as a kind of a core value, which means you do the right thing even when people aren't looking. And there is
Right.
no kind of on and off button on integrity. And if you have that, you can build trust. And in the world of tech, if you have lots of trust, you can call it a partnership. And if you have a partnership in tech, you can actually unleash life-changing innovation. So that's like the formula that I see, and we adopted in integrity as a core value in this company. And I think it's something that's very important, right? Like it's easy to justify doing things maybe in a company that's growing quickly that may not be something that is reflective of integrity, right? And so we've tried to slow down and say, hey, we're building a durable company. We want to do the right thing with our partners and our employees, our customers. Everything starts with having integrity.
I completely agree with that.